So you're ready to start building a Roblox Studio, and you want to start creating beautiful landscapes, maybe some rolling hills, forest, nice little lake. The tool designed specifically for this is called the Terrain Editor. So for the first part of this video, we're going to go over the Terrain Editor, and I'm going to explain how to use its related tools. And in the second half of the video, we're going to look at a plugin called Part to Terrain that makes things super simple for building and designing out terrain using the plugin. I'll demonstrate how to use the Part to Terrain plugin by building a nice little lake scene with a path surrounding the lake and a lakeside cabin off to the side. All right, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so I'm going to open up Roblox Studio. And we're going to use the base plate template again, so we'll click on that. All right, so now we're in the base plate template here. So we're going to be looking at the Terrain Editor. You can access it on the home ribbon by clicking up here. You can also find it here on the View ribbon as well, so you can click in there as well to access the Terrain Editor. All right, so the Terrain Editor has two tabs. It has a Create tab and an Edit tab. We'll quickly go over the Create tab first, just to show you how that works. On the Create tab, you have three different tools you can use. So there's Import, Generate, or Clear. We're going to be focusing on Generate and Clear. Okay, so we're going to look at Generate first. So let's click on Generate. And when you click on Generate, what's going to appear on the screen is a box representing the area where you can generate your terrain. So you can use the arrows here to move this box, or the circles here to scale the size, and you can adjust the area that you want the terrain generated in. So I'm going to make it quite large, and we're going to make it actually quite high as well, so it gives enough space to generate all the terrain we want it to generate. So I'm going to move around here so I can just go and grab from the side here. Let's have it take up a big giant area here. All right, so once I have the area selected that I want the terrain generated in, we go back here to the tab with Generate Selected. You can always, so you can see the top, it has the size position. That just kind of represents what's the area that's selected. There's a snap to voxels, so that just makes it so that it will snap to the terrain grid, the voxels, making things a little more precise when you're generating terrain. If you don't have that selected, it won't be as precise, but it'll make things a little more smoother and kind of transition between the grid a little more. Right below that, we have the biome settings. So that's just selecting off what you want for different biomes to be generated when we click Generate in the terrain. So you can have Arctic, dune, canyons, lavascape, water, mountains, hills, plain, marsh. So this first, let's select mountains. Let's select canyons, dunes, hills, plains, and water. And you can also check off down here, you got caves. So you wanted to generate some caves with your terrain, you can do that as well. So let's do that. Right above the caves is blending. So that's just kind of how the biomes are going to blend together. Do we want them to have lots of blending mixing in with each other, or we just want to have lots of separation? So we can either raise or lower that. So let's just pick something in the middle here. And the biome size, so this will kind of represent the size of the biome. So if you want it to be more diverse and have lots of different biome areas, you could make this number smaller, or if you have one big large biome, let's have a larger number. So let's just change this to 250. And then a random seed, so you can put a random number there, and that just randomizes the generation. So you can change this to whatever. All right, so let's click Generate, and it should generate terrain with what we have selected for biomes. All right, so this is what is generated for us. Let's kind of just zoom in here and take a look. So we got a, so we can kind of play around with things. So say we don't like this here, we want to try something else. Say we want to make, we didn't make this high enough. We want to give it a better opportunity to have some mountains. We can scale this up a little more. We can adjust the blending a little bit. So we want a little less blending, and we want our biome size to be a little smaller. Say we can make it down to 100. And let's click Generate again. All right, so that's a little better. We have some elevation in there now because we gave it a little more space for it to have a little more diversity in what it was kind of generating there. And that's pretty much it. That's how the generate terrain function works. You just pick a pick a region that you want the terrain generated, pick what you want, and it'll just do the magically kind of just generate this for you. So let's zoom in and have a look and see what it generated here. So nice, we got like a little kind of lake on the side here, and looks like a lot of kind of sandy kind of desert. So, right, you can also see it kind of generated some caves here because we had that cave checkbox selected. I'm gonna make some changes to the biomes we had selected. So I'm gonna unselect dunes, and I'm gonna select marsh, and let's click generate again and see what it looks like. All right, so this is our new generation after changing the biomes, and you can see that this time we got a little less kind of sandy areas. I think that's where we got rid of the dunes. We have this nice green kind of area over here. And it's done a nice job, I think, of generating almost some rivers and things like that in here. So that's pretty neat. I think it's actually done quite a good job here with this generation. Okay, the last thing we're going to cover on the Create tab, we go over to Clear. Say like you played around with some generations, but you don't really like what it did. So you can just go over to Clear and click on Clear All Terrain, and then all your terrain will be cleared, and you can just kind of start fresh. So let's click on that, Clear All Terrain. Oh, it's all gone. All right, so now we're going to switch over to the Edit tab here. So the Edit tab has a lot of tools that give you a lot more control over creating your terrain. You're not just generating a big giant area. You actually have control. You're selecting what you want to be created in that area using these various different tools. All right, so the first tool we're going to look at is the Draw tool. So the Draw tool is used to kind of just drawing terrain onto your map here. So the Draw tool has two different modes for the brush mode. You can either add, so you're adding terrain, or subtract, you're subtracting terrain. You got your brush shape, so your standard circle, square, or cylinder. And then your size, you want to have a larger brush. You want to make more changes. You can increase the brush size or make it smaller. And then below brush size, you have pivot positions. You can set the pivot position to bottom, center, or top. So that's the pivot position of the brush. All right, let's just scroll down here and look at the very bottom. So this is your material settings. So these are the default materials that you can use. So let's just select the grass material here. So I'm going to click on that. I got the circle brush shape selected here, and we're going to increase the size a little bit here. And let's just go and draw some random grass on the screen. So you just start pulling around and drawing. So there we go. We got some grass. Let's zoom in here, get nice and close here. So it's just a free-flowing drawing, just like a paint program. You're just drawing your terrain onto the surface here. All right, then we can change to different materials here. So let's click on the ground material. Let's just draw some ground next to this. We have a little different look. It doesn't have the grass on top. Let's draw a little strip of lava. So I got lava selected now. All right, I'm going to drop a little bit here. So let's make a big giant area of lava here. And let's say now we were drawing away and we put too much lava on here. So what you can do is change your brush mode to subtract. And then you're going to start taking away a little bit as you draw over that area there. All right, so let's go over to the sculpt tool. So the sculpt tool is similar to the draw tool. You're just not free-flowing drawing with material. You're just sculpting kind of existing things, either adding, subtracting to some existing terrain that you've already put onto your map. So, and with the sculpt tool, you also have the brush mode as well. You have the add and subtract. You have the brush shapes as well. And you also have the brush size. So for example, you can click on cylinder here. You can adjust the size of that cylinder. Adjust the box as well, or the circle here. So let's go and select the box one here. You'll see on the screen here the size changing as you adjust it here. If you want it to be, we'll say, more like a rectangle shape, you can unlock this as well, and then you can adjust either the width or the height here. So I say you want to have more width, but make the height a little less, so it's kind of just a very specialized kind of shape that you want for the brush size. You can do that. Let's just lock it back together here. There we go. All right, so I have the add mode selected. We're going to sculpt a little bit here, so you can see it's just kind of sculpting that lava there. Oh, so let's click subtract. So you can subtract it a little bit there. So I'm going to change it to the circle brush. Make it one. So we have a very small brush here. So I'm going to kind of just do some small sculpting in here. So you're basically manipulating the existing terrain you have, kind of squishing it in or adding some, pulling it out. You can change to a different material here. So I'm going to add a little bit of limestone in there. All right, so the next tool is the smooth tool. So the smooth tool is kind of just going to smooth out rough edges between different types of terrain. So you want to use that to kind of blend things a little bit, improve the look of things here. So I'm just going to demonstrate that quickly here. So I've kind of added just some terrain here. I got some grass type layer, I got the rock layer, and I got the lava layer. So let's try and use this smooth tool to see how that impacts this area here. So you can see how the smooth tool is kind of smoothing out the edge here, so it's not such a sharp edge. It gives you kind of a little nicer, better transitions. So that's kind of what that tool is used for. It's just kind of to use that to kind of smooth out those edges. All right, and then we got the next tool we have on there is the paint tool. So the paint tool is just kind of, so if you want to pick another material and paint over some existing material with a new material. So we have the paint tool selected. Again, it got the same brush shapes, the circular brush, the square brush, the cylinder brush, so you can adjust the size just like the other ones there. All right, so let's go and just pick some brick. So I got the brick material picked, and I got paint selected, so we're gonna just paint some brick over top of where this grass is here. So I start painting here, and you can see we have the brick materials now starting to take over that area there. So it's pretty simple. You're just picking a new material and you start painting over the existing material and it replaces that with that material. All right, so next thing we're going to look at the fill tool. So that's another tool you have in the edit tab. So with the fill tool, you have two different modes. You can either fill or replace. So the first thing when you're using the fill tool is you want to select the area you'd want to fill. So you have to use the select tool first. So you're going to have to find your existing selection and select the area you want to fill into. So it's just moving my selection around here. And I just want to make fill this area here. So let's adjust this here. And now we're going to go back. I'm selecting fill. I make sure I have the fill mode selected. And it's going to fill this with rocks. I'm going to select the rock material and simply just click fill. And there we go. We got the selected area has now been filled with rock. All right, so let's go back to the fill tool and look at the fill mode. So we just did fill. Let's try out replace. But again, before you use that, you want to adjust the selection here. So we're going to go back to select. And let's just select the top portion here. So I'm adjusting the selection, so it's just the top portion here. I'm going to go back to the fill tool. And now I'm going to click replace. All right, so with the replace tool, what you do is you select a source material. So we have this area, and this area has rock in it. So I'm going to select source materials rocks. I want to change the rock into a different material. And down here, so let's going to select the target material, and that's going to be brick. So we got our source material, rock, target material, brick, and we have it on replace. So we hit replace. Right, so now the selected area that had rock in it has now been replaced with brick. So zoom in here and you'll see that we have some brick now where the rock was in that area. All right, so another tool we have available on the edit tab is the flatten tool. So I'm going to select on flatten. All right, so when you have this flatten tool selected, you get this grid that shows up on the screen, and you want to adjust this so it's at the height that you want your material flattened to. So say if I'm right here, and I want to have this flatten out, I'm going to be able to use this flatten tool to flatten the material so it's all at a consistent height. So zoom out here. And then you have a few different modes here. So the first mode here is going to bring the material down so it's kind of just below this grid. The next material here is going to pull material up so it's just underneath the grid. Or you're going to have the third mode here is going to do both. It's going to kind of pull up and push down and kind of just flatten out all the material based on the existing heights of those materials. So let's have the first mode selected here. And we can also set this flatten plane and make it a fixed plane, so we don't have to worry about it moving. Then you can adjust this value here to get the height you want. All right, so we want to make sure that we have it at the right height. So that's a little too low. So I'm going to adjust the fixed Y plane and make it a little higher. Up to 100, let's try that. A little bit more, let's make it 125. Right there, so that's perfect. So we got this plane fixed at this height here. We want to take this top off, right? So now I'm positioned over the area I want to flatten. I'm going to change my brush shape to the square. I'm just make it a little larger here. Great. Right, so now all I got to do is just kind of go over here, and it's going to flatten the material to that height that we have selected. Let's move the brush around until it's completely flattened, and there we go. There you go. See, it flattened it to that height. Right, so I'm going to clear all the terrain now. So I'm going to click Clear All Terrain. All right, so now we got our clean base plate again. We're starting from scratch with the terrain. So we want actually, instead of using the create and edit like we've been using before, now we're going to switch over to using this Parts to Terrain plugin. All right, so I'm just adding this little clip into the video because I missed a little important little piece here. So you most likely do not have the plugin, the Part to Terrain plugin. So if you go to your plugins tab, you'll notice I had the Part to Terrain plugin there. I actually uninstalled it now so I can show you how to get it. So what you want to do is, let's go back over to the Home ribbon, and we're going to go into the toolbox, and let's undo that here. So you want to go to the Creator Store and make sure you have plugins selected in the drop-down list, and just type in Part to Terrain for a search. And then you will see a big list of potential plugins here, and the one you want is this one here, where it says Part to Terrain Free. So click on that, and then you'll have this little blue Install button. Click on Install. Now if we go to our Plugins ribbon, you'll now have the Parts to Terrain plugin installed, and you'll be good to go. So the Parts to Terrain plugin makes this a lot easier to design how we want our terrain to look and how to want to lay it out. We're going to be able to use parts. We're going to place the parts how we want the terrain to be looked. So the parts are going to be a representation of how we want the terrain to be laid out. And then we're going to use this plugin to take those parts and convert them into terrain. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start grabbing some blocks here and placing them into the world. So let's go place that's pretty far away. So I'm going to move that a little closer. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make the edge of, we're going to use these parts and kind of lay them out so they're going to be like the edge of a lake. They're kind of going to be the edge. We're going to have kind of a lower area where you're going to have the water meet the shore kind of line, and we're going to have kind of the path that goes around the lake and the upper kind of ledge area, which is going to be kind of the plane around the lake. So we're going to build that lake edging here. So we're going to start off just by having one block here. I'm going to resize this block. Let's scale it, make it a decent size here. So, all right, I'm just going to add a rig here with my avatar just so I can have a size of what a general Roblox avatar is. Just kind of can use that. So everything kind of, we make something the right size and kind of makes sense for the size of the characters and stuff within Roblox. We're going to have that here just for reference on the side here. Okay, let's make it a little taller here. All right, so now that we have that, I want to start adding some more blocks. All right, I think this will work out pretty good. So this is what we have here. So you got to imagine this is going to be the shoreline of the lake. So this is going to be kind of like going into the lake. We're going to have the sandy little area here, maybe a little ridge or rock. Then you have this little path that will go around the lake where you'll be able to walk around the path, walk around the lake. And then you have kind of your cliff, kind of your higher ground, which is back in a little further, right? Okay, so I'm just going to select this avatar, move them out of the way. I'm going to select the spawn location, move it out of the way. Because what I want to do now, I want to select all these blocks that we placed down here. We're going to convert this into a model so we can just duplicate the whole thing all at once. It makes it easier to make copies of. Because we're going to make a lot of copies of these, and these are going to be used to map out and kind of model out the shoreline of our lake. So I'm holding down Shift, and I'm selecting all the blocks that we use to create this little design of the edge of the lake. So we got that all selected here. So I want to now go up to Group, and I want to group as a model. All right, so now looking at the Explorer here, you see that we now have grouped as a model, and all the parts are inside the model. So those are the blocks that we used in the wedge that we added into that model. All right, and I'm just going to rename the model. We'll call it Lake Edge. That sounds like an easy name for us to, or somewhat appropriate name anyhow. So let's rename and go, and let's call it Lake Edge, because it's going to be the edge of the lake. All right, now I was kind of positioning myself high up above this area here. We're going to move this spawn location out of the way. Going to move our avatar out of the way. And let's just kind of zoom in on this shoreline piece here. So what we're going to do is want to select this. And now what we're going to do is go Control D so we can duplicate it. And we want to start dragging these duplicated sections and shaping out their shoreline. So I'm going to move it over here. So we want to rotate this a bit so we don't actually have just a big giant straight shoreline. We want to have it kind of a little more natural, so it's not going to be perfectly straight. So it's we're going to make it little adjustments here. So we'll rotate and move things into place here. Control D again, just to duplicate again. I'm going to rotate this one back here. Yeah, we'll probably have to fill in these gaps later, but that's fine. We actually could just go like this, Control D. And let's just bring one over here to fill in the gap there. Right, I think that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can always fix things up later. Right, so we're going to keep doing this. So it's a little bit of a process to go through and create your shoreline. And then keep rotating so we kind of start making that shape of the lake. We want to kind of end up in a big circle here. That's not a perfect circle, but it'll be the circle, kind of the lake area here. All right, getting it to be a decent sized shoreline. So we kind of got like, about, I don't know, like 25% done, but we got to keep going. We got to finish up and make this whole entire lake shore. So we got to keep going. All right, it's looking pretty good. We almost got, looks like a good halfway done there. So we're going to have to just kind of spin this around and connect up to the other side. But we're doing pretty good here. So we'll just keep duplicating those sections until we're all the way around. All right, so we completed that. So we have our full shoreline of our lake here now. So that looks pretty good. We do a little bit of gaps here, but we can clean that up later. So what now we're going to do is we're going to switch over to using the plugin, the Parts to Terrain plugin. So I'm going to click on that. You're going to have this little Parts to Terrain window open up here, where you can select the various different materials you want to use. So we're going to put in grass at the very top here. So that back block that we created in that lake edge model. So we're going to be using that back block, and we're going to make that into grass. So we want our grass selected here. And we're going to just start selecting these back blocks here. We can zoom in here. We're going to start converting that to grass. All right, so we got that outer layer that's all grass now. So the next one, we have that little edge blocks. We wanted to use that. We're going to actually use that, and we're going to use rock for that. So we're going to go around and now start making that rock. So let's go and select. So select the material rock, and just start selecting that edge block that we put on there. And let's go all the way around, and we're going to do that. I think we should have made the block for the rock a little thicker, but that's fine. We'll just go and see how this looks. It'd be nice to have a little more thicker rock here, but Working not too bad, so we'll just continue to do that. Okay, so we got all our rock edge kind of done now. So the next thing on this little path area, we made this little area for this path. So we want to do with that, we're going to use ground. So we're going to select the material ground, and then we're going to go around and start changing all those to ground material. So just go around and do the whole entire loop. So we have our little ground path. We got our back grass area. We got our rock layer, thin layer around the edge, and we have our ground kind of path area. So the next thing we want to do is we also have that little edge for more rock. So we're going to do that now. So we'll just go back, switch to the rock material, and we're going to zoom in and get those little edges that we had for the rock here. Might have to zoom in so you can get access to them here. Again, these probably could have been a little more thicker. We're not seeing as much rock show up as I'd like to, but no, it is what it is. I think it'll still look okay, but we'll see when it's done. All right, that's it. So we got that little extra layer of rock now done. So our last section we had on this template was for our sand that's going into the water. So now we're just going to grab the sand material, click on the sand material, and just start clicking on those to convert those to sand. All right, there we go. So we got all our different layers, all those different sections switched to material now. So we got our little sand area close to the edge of the water. So we got our nice little shape for a lake here. So now what we want to do, I want to just put a little, fill in the sand here for the bottom of the lake. So I'm going to do that next. All right, I'm just opening the terrain editor, and we can actually use the fill tool for that. So I just want to click on select. And where is our selection? Find our selection and adjust it to the right size. So we want it to be, all right, so I have the fill tool and this kind of selected area just kind of right here on the lake bed here. And I got sand selected, so I'm just going to try to use that. I kind of adjusted the height. I want to have it kind of close to the bottom here. And so I click fill. Oh, so that's a little low. So I think I got to bring it up here. Was a little bit too low. So I think now it's kind of sticking through the base plate. So do again, fill. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. So we want to just kind of fill close to the bottom. So just kind of move this around to kind of fill in these other areas here. So let's move it this way a bit. Click fill again. I'm just going to now move it over to this area here. So we're just kind of filling in all the gaps where we needed more sand at the bottom of our lake. Awesome, there we go. So we got our bottom filled into our lake now. Perfect. All right, so you'll notice on the grass here, these grass blades are quite big. So I actually want to make them smaller. So we go to the Explorer here and you click on terrain. You have to have the terrain editor closed, but then you'll get, for the terrain, you'll have a property here called grass length. So you can make that smaller. So I'm going to make mine down to 0.1, so that makes it a little smaller because the default 0.7 has pretty large grass blades. So I don't think we really wanted that big. All right, so now we want to add in some water to our lake. So let's go and do that. Let's go over to the editor and let's go with fill again. With this time, we're going to select water here. All right, so I positioned and kind of got the little box for the fill tool positioned how I want it. So kind of the area we want the water to be in and with the proper height. So I have water selected here. So now I'm going to click fill and we'll see what that looks like. Perfect. That actually looks not too bad. Looks like, so we need to, it's not really exactly what we need. So we need to pull this way. So we have some kind of issues back there, but let's not worry about that. Let's pull this way and click fill again. Oh, it still needs a little more. There we go, perfect. So that actually looks pretty good. So we got a nice little lake going on here. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually just add in some larger blocks just around the edge here, just kind of give us some more terrain, kind of grassy areas further out from the lake. So let's do that. Just add in some blocks. Want it to be about the same height as our current grass here. something like that. But we're going to make this so it's quite large, because we're going to just start building giant areas of grass around here just to kind of fill out our landscape a bit here. All right, so let's select this block. We're just going to duplicate it a bunch of times and move it around. All right, so now we surrounded our lake with these blocks to kind of extend out our grassy area. So we're going to bring up the plugin again, the part to train, and grab our grass. And let's just go around and start clicking on these blocks and convert them into grass. Okay. I'm just going to grab our spawn location and stick it up here on top of the grass. All right, so I'm going to click play so we can kind of explore. We got our spawn location up here on the grass. We're going to see what it looks like when we actually go into the game. So I'm going to click on play. All right, so we're here in our grassy field here. Come up toward our lake, and let's see what it's looking like so far. Oh, we got some blocks floating. We got some blocks, I guess we didn't convert into terrain that are floating in the water. That's fine. And yeah, so it would have been better, I think, if we had that little area we had for our rock. Should have extended a little more, but that's all right. This kind of gives us, there's some kind of a extruding rock around our edge here. And we got our path here that we had, so that's nice. It's kind of a little rough here, so maybe we'll try to clean that up there a bit. You can't really see the sand, but so I'm going to try to find where these blocks are and get rid of them. All right, that's better. All right, so I cleaned up those parts. There's how it's looking now. Yeah, nice little lake. I don't know what happened to our sand, but that's all right. All right, so now I kind of want to add in a path that comes into our lake here. So we're going to have, say, a little house back here, lakeside house. Let's kind of adjust this here. So let's bring up our terrain and let's add the sculpt tool here. Let's just subtract a little bit. Want to make our brush size really tiny, it like 2 there, and I want to kind of bring this down a bit so it kind of transitions in. So I have the sculpt tool and I'm subtracting, so I'm just kind of subtracting there a bit, so it's kind of making an area where it's not such a big a cliff. You can actually maybe be able to walk out of this area, so that's going to be where our path is. So I'm just going to play around in here with the subtract here. So we got that. Let's go back onto the paint and let's go and find, we got the ground material here, so let's go grab that. We're just going to try painting that on here. Let's make a little path coming into our lake area here. Let's say we want a little more rock, so we can grab the paint tool as well and just go select the rock material here. And let's add a little bit of rock features here on the sides. We didn't get all the rock we wanted before, but we can always add a little more in. You can kind of touch things up here, make it a little nicer, a little way white, so you can kind of customize things here. So maybe it wasn't exactly how we wanted it, but we can add some more rock in here. Now let's add a little detail to our path. So we got our path here, and we got this mud material here. So I want to use the mud to kind of make it look like there's a little bit of path where people are walking back and forth here in the center, make it so it kind of like, so it's not just all just one color here, a little more detail there. So we're just going to go around and just clicking in the middle of our path here. This adds a little more kind of depth to things. You're not just the one singular color there. Maybe you can add a little spaces there, so it's just kind of smooth things out a little bit, adds a little more detail. All right, so I'm going to go back into the terrain in the Explorer here, clicking on terrain and looking at the properties. We have like the water here, so we have some settings for the water in with the terrain properties. So we got the wave size. I'm going to bring the wave size down. We're in a pretty small lake, so we don't really need much for waves, I don't think. And let's change the water speed. Let's drop that down also, so it's like not moving too much here. You can adjust the water transparency. You can also play around the water color a bit there. Let's make a little slightly different blue water there. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to go into the toolbox and go to the creator store here. We're just going to find some rocks. So let's go and type in search here for rocks, adding a few rocks to our lake is gonna give it some nice little detail there. So let's go in here. And you got a lot of options for rocks. All right, so I'm just gonna try this rock here. It's pretty big, so I'm gonna scale this down. We don't need such a giant rock. We're gonna probably add some of these rocks into our path. So let's just, oh, we got really squished, so let's fix that up there. Poor little rock. Let's add some depth to it. Scale that rock a bit. All right, so I'm gonna duplicate this rock. Maybe add some up here into the grass. All right, here's another rock from the critter store. So let's grab this other rock here also. Bring that one in. All these look nice. So let's have a little like diversity in our rocks here. Let's place some rocks up to our entrance of our little path we're building here. We're gonna rotate it a bit and scale it a bit so it doesn't look exactly like the same rock. All right, I'm just using the smooth tool to kind of smooth out our path a bit here. All right, so I'm back into the terrain editor. I'm saying paint again. I just want to paint a little more ground up here, so it's extending our path. So this is going to be a path to, let's say we'll place a little house back in here. Kind of like a yard, that they're kind of got a lakeside property here. So let's say back here. And this is kind of where things are going to be here. So we'll just kind of do this. Make a nice little yard area here. Do a little bit of leafy grass along the side here. Give it a little bit of color here. Little splotches of mud. Some different little colors here. All right, let's go back to the creator store. Let's see if we can find some nice little trees that we can use. So it's going to type in trees. Let's grab this oak tree. Let's see what this looks like. It looks not too bad here. So let's grab our tree. Paste that back in there. Let's duplicate this. Grab another tree over here. All right, we're going to grab another tree from the creator store. That is a big one. We're going to scale that down. That's a nice looking tree. Scale it down a bit. Move it in a little closer here. All right, so I'm going to try to add in a little fishing dock here. So I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll try using the train to part tool, or the part to train tool. So I'm just going to add a little block here. And move it down a bit there. Perfect. All right, so we're going to try using the wooden planks. Let's see how that looks here. So there we go. There's a dock. It's definitely not super fancy, but I'm just kind of showing you like you can make something pretty easy. I think you'd probably want to play around with this, make it a little nicer, maybe add some details, more shapes to that. But there we go. We got a dock. See how it's look. Let's go click on play here. Let's go on in. All right, so we just go up our spawn point. We got a nice little thing. We got a little area here. We're gonna build our little lakeside cabin here. Go down to the path. Look at this. We got some nice rocks. We got a nice tree here. And look at that. This can need some work here. But you can smooth that out, play around with the terrain editor until you get that nice and smooth. But yeah, you definitely probably want to smooth this out, make this more kind of gradual thing in here. But I think the idea, we want to make a path. So you can come down here, down to the lake. All right, you've got this nice lake down here. We got a dock. This don't look so right here, but you'd probably want to play with this as well. But there you go. Yeah, so it's looking not too bad. There's definitely a lot of things you'd want to spend extra time cleaning things up in here. I think we could have had this transition work a little better out. I think something happened with our sand. But the general concept is all there. It definitely could, you could do a lot with this, a lot of playing around to massage things here a little bit, smooth things out a little bit, add some more details, adding some more rocks and some plants. You can have a pretty nice terrain, nice scenery built out pretty quickly with a tool like the Part 2 terrain tool. So it's really nice. I really like these rocks. They look nice. Anyhow, let's try to, I guess to wrap this up, let's try to find something in the creator store, maybe a pre-built building we stick on here just for the fun of it. All right, so I just typed in cabin to the creator store search for models, and look at this, a lot of nice little cute little cabins in here. So let's grab one and just kind of see what it looks like. Let's try this little camping cabin here. All right, so we placed in the cabin we got from the creator store, looking pretty good. All right, let's play it and see how it looks. Oh, it looks nice. We got our nice cabin. We got our beautiful trees. Yeah, I like this cabin here. It's nice. Oh, look at that. You can even open the door here. Whoa, look at that. Nice little cabin here. Come out to our beautiful lakefront property. We got our nice little tree. We got some rocks. Nice. I guess before we end this video, let's try adding a canoe to our lake. So I got a canoe here from the asset store. Let's pull it on. Oh, look at that. There's our canoe. So let's go and stick this in by our dock here. All right, so we got our canoe placed by our docks. Looks not too bad. Let's play it one more time here. Looking pretty good. Look at these nice rocks. Look at that nice tree. Oh, look at that. We've got a canoe. Can I jump into it? Oh, look at that. I'm riding a canoe. I'm on the lake. Don't have a paddle, though. So that was a good general overview of the terrain editor, also the Part 2 terrain plugin, which I think is really great. So I hope you can see what you potentially can do with these tools. We didn't do anything really that fancy. We kind of just mock this up pretty quickly. But yeah, I think it kind of gives you a good understanding of what you can do with that tool, and you can probably play around and experiment with that. And I'm pretty sure you can spend a little extra time and make something really nice with that tool and really build some really amazing terrain. So good luck with that, and thanks for watching.